I'm Dutch, and let's react to the Americans.
Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Johan, and I'm typical Dutchman. And if you're thinking about moving to Europe or to the Netherlands, or if you're wondering why is the United States so very expensive about a lot of stuff in comparison to Europe, then you are at the right channel, because in this channel I look at the life and living of the United States versus Europe and comparing them with cost and living. And for today we're going to take a look at an expat whose name is David Wen, and he says 5 years in the Netherlands, an honest review from an American. So let's see how he thinks about the Netherlands after 5 years being here. That should be a good one. So let's take a look. What he has to say.
Why did you leave California to come to the Netherlands? That's the most common question that I get. And I tell people, to pursue the Dutch dream.
Oops! To pursue the Dutch dream. Yeah, the Dutch dream.
Dear Diary, it's been 5 years in the Netherlands. 5 years ago, I was lost, struggling to find a career, struggling to find myself. I spent all my life trying to achieve this American dream that my immigrant parents had worked so hard to provide for me and my sister. But something was missing. And then this idea kept coming back. Europe. I always met Europeans while traveling and thought, do they even work? How do they
even work?
have all this time? But they also told me about a different way of living. A life where everyone gets 5 weeks of vacation and takes them. A life with affordable healthcare and education for all. So I researched and researched, and the Netherlands kept coming up as one of the happiest countries in the world. Fluent English speakers.
Number 5. It would be.
Kept coming up as one of the
Dutch ranks as 5th. Yeah, I believe that the most happiest nation in the world is, if I'm correct, Finland. Finland or Sweden. One of those two are documented as the most happiest nation in the world.
The happiest countries in the world, fluent English speakers, bicycles, and high-quality study programs in English. And then I thought, maybe I could go back to school. And so I applied, I got in, and
Maastricht University, all the way down in the south, with me, because I'm from down south.
I found my way into the land of the Dutch to study in a small fairy tale town called Maastricht.
Maastricht.
Maastricht. It was a beautiful one-year experience. I loved the
Carnival in Maastricht. Oh yeah. Only in the south we have this festival that's called Carnival every year.
Program. I loved the city. And then I graduated and I excitedly moved to Amsterdam for a new job and a new life. And then
COVID-19.
Europe is now the epicenter of the COVID-19 crisis.
well, I decided to stick it out. And 5 years later, I'm still here. So let me tell you 5 reasons why I'm still here in the Netherlands. Well, sometimes I
wonder why did he move up to Amsterdam? Because Maastricht and Maastricht University is in the neighborhood of, right across the Meuse, the river. It's 10 kilometers. You've got Belgium, where you can find a job. The Netherlands, of course, and then on the other side, 10 kilometers, we have the French-speaking part of Belgium to find a job. And on another, let's say, 10 kilometers, you have Germany. So you have 4 regions, 4 different countries to find a job. When you go up to Amsterdam, you only have Amsterdam region.
I do have to question myself, especially during these dark winters. Why did I leave California to come here? Because to be honest, the Netherlands is great, but it's not perfect. It's not all tulips and sunshine.
No, it's not.
Especially the winters, they are depressing. But when it comes to living in a country for an extended period of time, it's not just the weather, but there are other factors, social, economic, societal, systemic factors that contribute a lot to one's happiness. That's actually what all these happiness reports measure. And overall,
Yeah, it was. Back.
factors, social, economic, societal, systemic factors that contribute a lot to one's happiness. That's actually
Yeah. Rank 1, Finland. Finland, and then Denmark, Iceland, Israel, and then the Netherlands as the most happiest people. Happiness based on, yeah, Finland. I was Finland and Norway. Norway is 7th, so yeah.
what all these happiness reports measure. And overall, I do think that the pros far outweigh the cons in this country.
And a big one in the Netherlands is balance, or what I like to call time over money. Now, I'm very grateful for the US, and my heart still stays there in many ways. But being away for 5 years, I do see that back in the US, there's an overly big focus on chasing more money, more status, more fame. And I do think that can be dangerous if you're just chasing more and more, and you're never satisfied with just enough. And I do get it because
Yeah. Right away, that's the same thing that I think that Americans do. It's getting money, 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 chasing after working a heck of a lot hours to get the money, and they need the money because everything is so expensive. Yeah, but it's never good enough.
it's a system that favors those that have more. And for me, I almost didn't stay in the Netherlands because I almost decided to go back to San Francisco because I compared the salaries between San Francisco and Amsterdam, and I would be making a lot more money in San Francisco. But that's really the mindset. It's about
I know cost of living plays a role too, but one does make a lot more in the US if you're in the top. Yeah.
number, it's about making more. And what I've come to really appreciate about the Netherlands is while money is important, it's about balance. Balance so that you can have more time. People leave work at 5 p.m. People have 5, 6
Of course, there are exceptions. Yeah, but yeah, he's right. In general, people work from 9 to 5. In general, some people start at 8 or at 7, and some people work starting at 10 or at 12 and work late shift, let's say in the hospitals, etc. So yeah, but on average, the daily work hours are from 9 to 5.
weeks of vacation and they take them. People don't work out. Have 5, 6 weeks of vacation and they take them. People don't work outside of work hours. There's no expectation to answer emails on vacation. And a lot of people do work part-time. In fact, that was a surprise to me that the Netherlands has the shortest work week in the world because people decide to work 4 days a week, 3 days a week. And it really took me a while to recondition this mindset of having less money in order to have more time. But in the Netherlands,
Yeah, that's hard if you're focused on money, money, money. And now we are not focused on not having money or having free time, but finding the balance between doing your job well, get paid for it, and then when you leave your job, you'll leave your job. You're going home and you can spend time with your family, with your kids, with your wife, and do stuff and relax and, like a lot of people say, recharge your batteries during the weekend and the vacation, and then going back to your job the next day.
from a practical perspective, you get taxed 50% of your income above 70K, and
What's it about?
Netherlands has the shortest work week in the world because people decide to work 4 days a week, 3 days a week. And it really
Yeah, that's possible.
It took me a while to recondition this mindset of having less money in order to have more time. But in the Netherlands, from a practical perspective, you get taxed 50% of your income above 70K.
You haven't reached the state pension age. Real estate annual taxable income grows 36, almost 37%, and above 73,000, you pay 50% almost. Yeah. until you get your pension age.
And so there really isn't a big incentive for people to make more. People would rather make less so that they can have more time and less stress in their lives. Because you can live quite comfortably with an average income in the Netherlands. So that allows people to focus more of their time on things that they value, such as vacation, family, hobbies, volunteering. And it reminds me of this quote: "When you're young, you have time, you have health, but you have no money. When you're middle-aged, you have money and you have health, but you have no time. When you're old, you have money and you have time, but you have no health."
Wow. Yeah. Good one.
But the Dutch way of living is, instead of making the most money, it's about being okay with just enough. And that's what really living to work instead of working to live really means. And
Yeah. You can live in the Netherlands with an average income of, let's say, between 23, no, gross. Gross income between, let's say, 3,032 or about, let's say, 40K a year. That's enough to have a comfortable life with a car, with your own house, with everything insured, with money to go on vacation, to do everything. 40K is enough to survive or to live. It's not surviving. It's not going from paycheck to paycheck. But with 40K, you're there. And I'm happy if I have a 40K job and I won't aim. That's not who I am. I won't aim for, oh, wait a minute, there I'm going to get a 60K job, but I have to work 10 hours more a week. I don't do this, and a lot of other people don't. They say, I have a 40K job, that's good enough, so I can spend the time with my kids and with my wife and doing the stuff I like and have fun.
a big thing is the system supports it. A social safety net. Now, before coming to the Netherlands, I had only heard about such a term, but now I understand what it means. The Dutch system provides security and stability for people so that they don't end up on the streets. So there's less fear of being homeless or needing to pay 100K on a hospital bill.
Whoa, what is this? Audiology 206, blood $600, I assume. Cardiology 2100, almost 22. Laboratory works 32,000. Pharmacy 60,000. Professional, wow. Total patient services $610,000. You don't have that in the Netherlands, no.
Let me share some examples that I've seen, experienced, or that those around me have experienced over the years. The past year has been a big year of layoffs, and I know colleagues in the US and also here that have been laid off. Now, in the US, you can get laid off or fired at any time, gone the next day, and often without money or severance. And because healthcare is so expensive and is usually tied to your job, then it becomes stressful and expensive when you need to take care of healthcare without a job. Now, in the Netherlands, of course you can still get laid off. That's how businesses work, but it's a lot harder, especially if you have a permanent contract. And I know of several people that have been laid off, but it took them time to negotiate a severance package. And often you will get at least a few months of severance. You're not going
Yeah, by law, notice period is at least 1 month in NL, in the Netherlands. And even then, by law, it has to be signed off by a judge. So the company, if it is a big layoff, not if one person doesn't perform, then he will get out, of course. But if a big company want to lay off 100 people, then they have to go to the judge and explain to the judge why they cannot have this 100 people anymore, that they are really in trouble and that they don't have enough money and all kinds of stuff. And if the judge say, okay, then they can fire off 100 people, for example. So
Gonna get let go the next day. And when it comes to healthcare, it's affordable on your own. It costs 100, 200 euros a month. And if you make below a certain income, the government will give you money to pay for healthcare. Another right that I've seen and pleasantly surprised by is the right to be sick. Wait, shouldn't that be a universal right? Unfortunately, that's not the case around the world.
but he is forgetting something. If you're laid off from your workplace, like I have, then depending on how much years you did work in total, your total life work, you'll still get an income from the government. Not as large as, it's almost 70% of your lost income, your lost earned income, 70%. But at least you have for the next, let's say that you are working for a company 10 years, and after 10 years you have been laid off. That means that you have at least 10 months, 70% of your lost income to live, to survive, and to find a new job, and to pay your car, and to pay insurances. And so, yeah, being laid off doesn't mean that you don't have any income. You still have an income.
But it is the case here. If you're sick, say on burnout or mental health or a disease, you're protected by the law, say up to 2 years, and you will still get paid. For example, burnout. I had never heard the term before coming to the Netherlands. And then I heard of so many cases of people being burnt out once, twice, 3 times, and people were so open in admitting that. Now I've learned it's not because there are more cases here compared to the rest of the world. It's because the law protects people and people are open to admit it. In the US and in Asia, I know of family members, friends who were fired from their jobs because they were sick long term, because they had cancer. And that's so messed up because we as humans will get sick. But the difference here is that the law protects you. And let me quickly touch upon physical safety.
Yeah, okay. The law protects you in the Netherlands, but I have to say, in Europe in general, every nation within the Schengen area, within the European Union, has the same laws, give or take, that you are protected from being sick, a long time sick, from being fired, etc., etc.
I think that's a very important part when living in a country. I've never felt unsafe living in this country. For example, the homeless problem. Of course there are homeless people in the Netherlands, but you just don't see them roaming around the streets, living in tents, doing drugs. It's a concern and a worry for the safety of my parents walking around in the streets. That's something that you don't have to worry about here in a big city in the Netherlands. And another one.
Yeah, I have to think. In Amsterdam, I'm not that familiar with Amsterdam. So I have to think in Amsterdam or Rotterdam, there are homeless people, but you hardly see them. Yeah.
Is safety for your children. And I wasn't fully aware of this specific topic until talking to a few American parents who are raising their kids here. And they told me now they don't have to fear for their children going to school due to mass school shootings. That really is the unfortunate reality. And of course,
school shootings are on the rise in the US. In 2023, 82 shootings. In 2020, there was only 22. So COVID had some positive effect. But wow.
It doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen in the US because of gun violence. Another one is education, and let me tell you why. Because in the Netherlands, you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to put yourself or your family through education. I was talking to this American family, parents, and they have 3 kids in high school, and they told me that they could not afford to put their kids through college in the US. It would have been hundreds of thousands of dollars. They would have had to go into debt. But here in the Netherlands, they only have to pay a few thousand euros.
Breda, Delft, Eindhoven, Erasmus, and Rotterdam, Pontus. Yeah, you see, all the universities have the same maximum tuition for applying and the rest, this is 10%. The other 90% is paid for by the government to the university.
In tuition per year per student. And I can relate to that as well because that was the big reason I decided to study here instead of the US, because the cost of education here is a lot lower than the US. And that's a big difference because in the US, debt is unfortunately part of the life of an American, and debt is crippling. It can create a lot of fear in one's life, not a lot of stability, because you know in the back of your mind you need to pay off your debt. And this
Wow. The tuition and fees, medical care, shelter, CPI, Consumer Prices Index, food, it's all going up, up, and up. Yeah, that's a lot of stress.
not a lot of stability because you know in the back of your mind you need to pay off your debt. And this is what a safety net feels like, because life is gonna throw you a curveball, but I know that I won't be on the streets.
Another thing that has contributed a lot to my happiness in this country is there's less of a need to compare yourself socially. There are less expectations as compared to other cultures. I come from the US and also an Asian culture where you're conditioned to try to be better than the others, to compare yourself, to have a timeline of expectations. You need to be this, you need to have this at this certain age. And it's very freeing because when you don't feel the need to have something, to compare yourself as much, then you're more free to be happy and to enjoy your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally agreeing with him. I think that's another, because he talked about a burnout. You're constant comparing yourself with others, aiming to get not only yourself better, but to be better than somebody else, to have more, or to have a wife at a certain point, or a husband at a certain point, to have kids at a certain point, to have, if you don't have that need to have all of that, your life will be more relaxed and less burnout.
A Dutch saying that I've come to really appreciate is the doe normaal saying, or to act normal. And
Yeah, doe toch normaal, man.
And you're taught here not to brag, and that's very different compared to the US, where Americans are great at bragging. One thing is I've stopped asking people what they do for work. I've also stopped expecting people to ask me what I do for work, because I was conditioned to judge others based on this external label of what someone did for work, the school they went to. It's very freeing when you don't need to judge others based on these external labels, and you can.
Yeah, it's more in the conversational version. If you don't know somebody because it's not a friend or relative, or then you ask them, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And those kind, and then depending on the responses, you talk about other stuff, maybe about work, maybe about politics, but not by the starting question is, what are you doing for work? It's not the question to
get
ask.
to know someone for who they really are. I was talking to a Polish friend the other day as well, and she told me it's been very freeing for her to come to a country where there aren't these social pressures to get married or to have a family, and some people don't have that opportunity. And I also feel the same way. I come from this Asian culture where I'm expected by this age to be married, to have kids. When you don't have these expectations, that creates a lot more room for happiness to flourish within myself, and so I'm very thankful for that. I also live a healthier lifestyle here in the Netherlands, and that's due to design. Well, biking culture. Of course I knew about bikes before coming here, but I didn't realize how big of a role it would play in my life here, because people here cycle 10 to 20 kilometers every week. You cycle to the supermarket, to the office, to the train stations. It's become my main mode.
Yeah, average 10 to 20 kilometers. Okay, I didn't know that.
Of transportation, and it's like killing two birds with one stone, because before, when I lived in the US, I would drive to my local gym in order to cycle. Now I cycle in order to get from point A to point B. And I also walk a lot more too. It's a very walkable country. Everything is quite small. And food and nutrition have become important topics in my life now. As I get older, I realize
But I still see people around here, because there's a gym not far away from me, that people going there by car because I follow them from, let's say, 500 or 1,000 meters, let's say a quarter mile, a 2/4 mile away. Then they take the car to go to the gym, and then in the gym do some running. And I think, wait, if you were starting at home and you started walking to the gym, then you would already have your, but it still happens. And I want to, crazy. Why would you go with your car to the gym to do sport? Grab a bike, start with it.
metabolism isn't as high anymore, so I have to watch what I eat. But the nice thing about the Netherlands is there is less temptation as compared to the US in terms of fast food. Back home in the US, I used to eat a lot of fast food, believe it or not, more than I wanted to. I had these cravings late at night and I would grab a snack from the local McDonald's or Del Taco. But here, you don't have as many of those temptations. It's not as easy. And if there's something I've learned about behavioral science and psychology is if you want to change behaviors for the better, for example, changing your diet, a big part of it is changing your environment. And here, the environment, there isn't as many temptations for things like fast food. And the
Yeah, yeah. There are fast food restaurants, of course. We have McDonald's and KFC, and there are a lot of people who are driving up to it, mostly young people driving up to the drive-in, order something, and then drive on. Yeah, it still happens, but it's less than in the United States.
food that you buy in the supermarkets, it's healthier, for one, due to EU regulations. There are less highly processed foods here in the Netherlands as compared to the US. There's also less variety, less options, so I don't have as many choices to choose from, which is a good thing for me because I have a sweet tooth. And one thing that I've learned about is the Netherlands is the second biggest exporter of agriculture behind the US. And that means the supermarket food and produce is actually quite high quality and affordable. And lastly, I've really learned to slow down over the past few years of living here. I mean, I used
Where is he going? Where is this?
to live my life in a faster lane, you could say. I was going at 100, 120 miles per hour. But here I've learned that you can go 30, 40 miles per hour and cruise. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. I still remember my first few years here. I was frustrated at how slow things were, how slow things happen, say, in the workplace. But slowly, colleagues taught me that things don't need to be done now. They can wait, and it's really about working and living.
Oh yeah, that's hard. Sometimes it's hard. I can imagine that for Americans. What? Yeah. If it isn't finished today, then it isn't finished today. Tomorrow is a new day, and if tomorrow is Saturday, then Monday is a new day, and then we continue. We did what we could do, and that's it. Goodbye. Have a nice weekend.
Being smarter, not faster. And that's something that I've come to appreciate, being able to live more in the present moment, to enjoy life now instead of the future, because my mind used to live very far in the future, making money for retirement. You know, life happens, and due to some unfortunate circumstances, I've had some people in my life die young, and that made me realize how important time is.
Yeah, he's talking about retirement. That's also already arranged for. So by the time you are retiring from your work, you don't have to worry about, do I have enough money to live without my job, because you're already getting retirement money from the government. So there's always your retirement. You can have some extras, we call it a pension, and your pension money, but that's what you have laid in all those years you have worked for. Then you get your pension money every month too. But if you don't have a pension, then there is still by the government an income that's called AOW, and that's always guaranteed. So you don't have to worry about what after I am retired, because there is money after you are retired.
That this future of ours is not certain. And it's taught me to live more in the present moment. And that's what the system here and the culture here really allows one to do, to live more in the present moment.
To be able to spend more time now versus later, whether it's travel, family, or work. Yeah.
That life shouldn't be lived like a sprint, but more like a marathon.
Dear Diary, it's been 5 years in the Netherlands, and it's going well. But what's next? Well, I don't really know, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Good. After 5 years, I hope you had something on his experience about the Netherlands and what I could confirm or could adjust, confirm and add to that you are considering if you're coming to the Netherlands, then what you could and can expect from the Netherlands. He's been here 5 years and he is still learning to relax, and he has a job. It's certain, but if you have a job, you still have time. It's you see all these people. Oh, you don't. Come on. You see all these people walking. It is there. There is time to do and to walk walkable cities, to have your spare free time during a work week day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's not all happening in the weekend. It's 9 to 5 and that's it. And the entire culture, the entire European Union about everything is based on this. It's, we work from 9 to 5, and after 5 or 6, then it's done. And nobody is gonna look strange at you. Everybody gonna look strange at you. Even, what? Is he still working? If you're working more than 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, then somebody says, well, we have to go to home. The cleaning crew is coming up, so, or the alarm is putting up, so you have to leave. It's strange. It happened to me too, that I was working in the classes and I had to do this and that and that. Okay, well, oh, it's 6 o'clock. I have to go. And then it's done. It's done, and nobody will look at you as strange people. Why are you leaving this early? Because it's the normal time, 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then press like. If you want to see more of my videos, then press on this one. And if you want to subscribe, then this is a good button to do so. All subscribers are really appreciated. We're rising. We got 40 subscribers in 10 days. So it's very good. We are a rising channel. And I will thank you for watching this video. And I will see you in the next.